Hey y'all, we're here in the third week of Advent, and this is the third session of our Advent series, Calling All Angels. Does your family or church family have any holiday traditions? Those things that make you say, it's just not Christmas until we fill in the blank. Make grandma's cookie recipe, watch Ralphie open his BB gun on A Christmas Story, drive around, look at lights in your PJs. How did those traditions start? And how have they changed or evolved over the years? You know, tradition can be a wonderful and meaningful thing. In family and in community, memory, story, and repeated activity helps build shared identity and purpose. It connects us to the past and helps us build for the future. But tradition has a dangerous downside too, and it's important that people of faith recognize how the past can bind us rather than build us up. The church has wonderful traditions, many of which come out in full force this time of year. The nativity set that our church has had since ancient days, the children's program that they've done since you were a child, the gift collection for your favorite local ministry partner, lighting candles and singing Silent Night to close the Christmas Eve service. These are the things that give us great joy and offer glimpses of how the light of Christ enters the world, God's love made manifest within us and for us. But we also acknowledge that the church has some traditions that are based in fear rather than love or hope. We have traditions that historically exclude people, particularly LGBTQ people, from the fullness of inclusion in the body of Christ. We have traditions that might lead us to invest far too much of our treasure in physical facilities rather than outward-reaching mission, or in self-preservation rather than the radical justice-seeking work of the gospel. The church has often embraced a tradition of using fear as a teaching tool as well, an ethic of manipulation and a means of control that sadly can be a powerful growth model. But the gospel itself actually contains within its narrative the power to dismantle and dispel all fear. And we know from experience that fearless faith can transform lives and the world. This is the true spirit of the gospel of Jesus Christ, the liberator, whose birth we await in this season. In the story of Joseph, there is an important lesson in what it means to break free of tradition when we need to. The angel visits Joseph and tells him that the woman he is engaged to is already with child. Sidebar, not his biological child. Everything about Joseph's tradition, culture, and upbringing would tell Joseph to run away. In fact, in the legal sense, he and Mary were already bound, and he had very few options: dismiss her quietly or have her submitted for public stoning. I mean, Joseph is a righteous man, so he does not love the second option. He is about to opt for door number one, divorce her on the down low, and the angel tells him, "Do not be afraid." Matthew's gospel gives us just a tiny glimpse into this exchange, but we know this: Joseph heard the angel's call, and he answered out of faith rather than fear. He married Mary anyway and raised Jesus as his own. Do you ever think about how this whole story might have been different if Joseph had been guided by only what he knew? By only what he'd learned of the past and not the vision God had sent him for the future? If we can get our heads around that, then maybe we can think about how God is inviting us in the present moment to respond out of faith and not fear. Much like Joseph, people of faith today often find ourselves standing at a pretty tenuous intersection between the world we knew and the one in which we actually live. We too are faced with decisions that will determine a future story. Do we look constantly in the rearview mirror, where objects may be closer than they appear? even when that backward-looking way no longer serves us or meets the needs of the moment? Or can we hear the call of angels to be unafraid and put all of our faith and action into God's hopeful future?